why'd you hit Guido? And he said, you know, it's just like, I forgot what he said. I think he said something about, I think he said something to me. And then he said, but why do you care, bro? You're black. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything, bro? Like, what does that have to do with anything? You know what I'm saying? Because with me, I connect with Guido because we both speak Spanish, and I connect with Angelo because, man, growing up in this neighborhood, man, you just, skin color mattered in this neighborhood, apparently. But to me it didn't. To them it did, you know. So to me it was like, yeah, you're one of us. But to Guido it was like, you're not one of us. And that's kind of like the first realization that I had growing up, knowing that there was a major issue to even cause this, that you would hit someone that you don't even really know and never did anything to you, but it was just kind of like that, you know. So I had to, like, pretty much, you know, tried my best to squash it, you know, end racism, because I was able to connect with both parties here, and I was able to, you know. Angelo didn't ever mess with Guido after that day again. Nobody messed with him after that day again, because I think Angelo felt some sense of guilt after I let him know that I know, you know, Guido, and he's you know, been in my house. I know his family. I think at that point he started just being like, all right, he's one of your boys. He's cool then. Like, yeah, he's one of my boys. He is cool. So just leave him alone. I mean, he was listening to a lot of rock at the time, so I think that kind of put like a red target on his back, because in this neighborhood, if you didn't listen to rap, then you were pretty much considered but it's just one of those things that, you know, I remember, it sticks with me, you know, like Guido getting hit in the face, and I can't help but think it was because he was white and he lived in a black neighborhood where you stick out like a sore thumb. You know, my family is very dark skinned. I'm very dark skinned. I look in the mirror every day, and I tell you, at this point in time, I don't even know how else to put this. I'm gonna post a picture of me, but just this version of me, just so you guys can take a better look at me, right? This version of me is very light-skinned compared to what I was growing up in elementary and middle school. In elementary and middle school, I think I spent so much time outside to the point where I was like the blackest kid around. Like, you saw the picture, or if I post it. I was like, yeah, I was very, very dark. So it was very natural to identify with being black. Also very natural to identify with being Dominican, Taino, Indian, all of those, anything that's colored. I would say it's very natural for me to inaccurately say I was also Spanish, because of, you know, you speak Spanish, so all the people who speak Spanish, we just call ourselves Spanish, but that's completely inaccurate. But yeah, that was, what was that like? I can't even remember the phases now anymore. But phase 4, now this is where I don't remember if it was Google or YouTube, or I don't know what it was, but I had finally learned about the true history of Dominican Republic, and how the first, you know, ships carrying slaves or enslaved peoples to the Western Hemisphere were on the ships that came to Dominican Republic first. It was on the ships that Christopher Columbus was leading, and you know, that was the start. That kind of hit me hard, and that's when I really started to say, okay, wow, we Dominicans are of Spanish descent. I never really factored in Portuguese or all the other European nations. At this point in time, ancestry tests were not a thing, you know, so it was just, I identified with being Dominican, Spanish, like from Spain, African, or actually black. I didn't say African. I identified with being black, I identified with being Taino, and I identified with being Indian. So all of those were amongst my identifiers at this point in time. And it just kept getting, you know, solidified that I was, you know, a person of color. Like, I remember going in the 5,000 Role Models Club, which was specifically designed for black males. However, there were a few people in there that were of Latino descent, and they were a lot lighter skinned than the rest of us. But it was still the same concept. Like, it's pretty much people of color, or males of color for this club. And, you know, we would just do community service. We'd do little things here and there. Every Wednesday we wear our tie. It was a good thing, setting a nice little, you know, being a little role model. But yeah. Now, graduating from high school and going to college, this was the first time in my life where I was surrounded by majority white people. Now, when I was growing up, a lot of my friends were Latino, but they were very white. Like, they looked white. To me, everyone who's like, light skin like that is just white to me. Like, but when I got to college, it was like, wow, like now I literally do stick out. And at this point, it was a lot of people, a lot of white people from certain parts of the country that don't really have exposure to the Latin community or the Black community the way we from South Florida had it. You know what I'm saying? So they pretty much just said I was Black. I definitely have direct descendants from Spain. I definitely have direct descendants from Africa. We don't know someone in our family who was 100% Taino. That was too far long ago. However, my mother's father did strongly identify with being Taino, which passed on to her, which passed on to me. A strong sense of identity when it came to being Taino there. But now, once I took my first ancestry test, that right there is when I really do feel like that was the last phase of identifying. Well, not just ancestry, but all of the DNA tests I'm taking. They're picking up on Jewish DNA, they're picking up on Italian DNA, they're picking up on Nigerian DNA, they're picking up on Senegalese DNA, they're picking up on all sorts of DNA. And a lot of people that I watch on YouTube just kind of disregard the 1% and 2% like entirely. They just disregard it, right? But I am not like that at all. With me, I understand, when you educate yourself on history, you start to realize 1,000 years ago is not that long ago. 400 years ago feels like yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you start filling in the gaps, you start to see that time is not like this. 2,000 years ago, that's not as ancient as people think it is. I mean, it is a long time ago, but when you know how to fill in the gaps, now it feels a little bit more like the same way as your life is felt. You know what I'm saying? Like a timeline. There's a good timeline there. So this is when now I'm a bit stronger identifying with every single thing that I have on my ancestry test. However, if somebody asked me today what I am, I just let them know I'm half Indian, half Dominican. And I also let them know that the majority of my Dominican DNA is from Africa. So I let them know I am Black. But if they do ask me, like, are you Jewish? I'd say yes. If they ask me if you're Nigerian, I say yes. It's like, I'll be like 2%. I'm not 100% Nigerian, but I am Nigerian. Don't take that 2% away from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a history there. It all traces back to at least one person in your bloodline. Being Dominican and, having my mom being full Dominican, there's definitely multiple lines of Taino in her and definitely multiple lines of African. And I like to say there's definitely multiple lines of Spanish blood as well in her, even though there's only one person that necessarily looked white in our family, and that was my great-grandmother, who was directly from Spain. But yeah, I strongly, think that everybody should claim every last drop of their DNA and just identify with it. So that was my experience growing up mixed. And I also like to say that a lot of other people that I know that were mixed growing up, they didn't have anywhere near the same experience that I had. Like, I talked to some girls, they'll be like half white, half Black, and they'll be talking about how, like, girls have jumped them and this and that, and then also, like, girls are mean and say things about her because she's half Black. And I'm like, wow, like, that rejection from all the different communities is not what I experienced at all growing up. My experience was so inclusive. It was incredible, like I literally get along with every demographic of people. I really do feel like I am going to end racism somehow. Somehow, I will do it, but I don't know how. Maybe that's what I'll do with this YouTube channel. I will end racism. That's the new goal. No, I'm just kidding. I want to make some videos about self-development and stuff like that. Just try to help out my brothers out there that might be struggling the way I used to struggle for a good period of time, and now I feel like I'm thriving in like all areas of my life. So it may sound like I'm down but that's only because I'm kind of just trying to remember things from when I was a kid, but also all this stuff that's going on because of these ancestry tests, which if I could go back in time, I would burn them. I would not hand them to one family. I wouldn't even tell my family that I took an ancestry test. I would literally just start posting my videos to YouTube and leave it at that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would not even mess around with that. But hope you guys enjoyed this. I will definitely let you know, or if you're a subscriber, if you're someone that, you know, regularly communicates with me as much as possible, I will let you know if I end up posting that video, because the chances are I will post it, maybe not even for 24 hours. Maybe I'll just post it, take it off the same day. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you're watching this video, give me some daps and kiss.
Mwah.